Okay, in this video we are talking more about the Picard book, The Last Best Hope, after this. Hello out there, I'm the Oldest Nerd, and we are now a number of weeks into the epidemic, and a lot of people are left at home. My day job, I'm working partly from home and partly from work, depending on what needs are, so I understand the being cooped up, and interestingly, as part of my job, I have been on camera quite a bit. Some things that I used to do can now be done by video, so I've been making a lot of videos. So as we come back to the kind of videos I like to make, I'm glad that you're here to watch them. We're talking about the book Picard, The Last Best Hope, which was kind of the prequel book to the series. And there have been some people who have said in the comments that why should they not give this backstory before in the series itself rather than have to make you buy a book? Well, I think that it started kind of with Star Wars, where they decided that this entire backstory didn't need to be told because they had comic books about it. And the original Star Wars, which is now called A New Hope, was basically started in the middle of the story. And the generally good way to write a story is to start it in the middle of the story. You don't go back and say how it all started. Things like origin films never do really very well, except perhaps for the first Superman movie. At any rate, what we have here is the book that tells the reasons from the time that we left Picard 14 years ago to why he resigned Starfleet. And that's what this entire book illustrates. Now, last time we told you about how he met Raffi and where Geordi went, and we know that Riker was on the Titan. We know that some of the other people were elsewhere. We may see in the second season of Picard, certainly we're going to see Guinan. We're likely to see Beverly Crusher. They say that it's not likely that we'll see Will Wheaton as Wesley Crusher. That would be kind of a shame. I think that would be kind of interesting to see. Nevertheless, we have much more detail in the book of what the underlying circumstances was. Many people said, why wasn't it that the Romulans did evacuate themselves? And apparently there's a whole story behind that. When the star was starting to go nova, researchers that were on Earth decided that it probably was going to extend more than 9.7 light years and take out many more planets in the Romulan star system than the Romulans wanted to admit. There was one major scientist on Romulus who saw this and turned it into the government, and the government pretty much ignored it. They did not want to deal with the evacuation of billions of people. And when it all came out, all they really wanted to do was get their elites to a safe place, and the common folk could stay and die as far as they were concerned. And even some of their regional governors, whatever they called them, were those who were more interested in keeping power than in keeping their lives, and didn't really quite believe that they were in any danger. And so therefore some of them thought that it was just some kind of Federation plot to take over the Romulans. And so there was a lot of resistance on Romulus to be rescued at all. And there was some problems within the Federation. A newly elected representative from one of the outer planets to the Federation, whose name was Quest, made it part of her campaign that the Romulans should take care of the Romulans and the Federation people should take care of themselves. She came from an outlying planet near the neutral zone and was afraid that the Romulans would come and settle on their planets and bring more of a Romulan way of life, rather than the Romulans worry that they would have to make a more Federation kind of life. And so these conflicts were illustrated in the book. Also, some interesting little things that they talked about the Romulans. They are ones to keep secrets. That was shown in the television show. but no one said just how secretive they actually were. Even their homes, generally a Romulan home would not have a front door. And if it did have a front door, it would be a fake one. The way to get into the property of a Romulan was to go through a maze. To go through the house was a maze. It was difficult to know where you were or how big the house was or where you were going or where you were going to end up, and that was all by design. And in fact, one of the problems that Starfleet had, and under Picard's leadership, was to design ships in order to be able to evacuate these people that would respect their privacy. There had to be a lot more divisions in the ship. The families had to be more isolated. They all had to have their own rooms. And those who were of any noble heritage had to be treated especially with a special respect, if you will. And many of these people were difficult to deal with. And so this is all part of the problem that Picard had, while at the same time the Federation is saying, why are we spending all of our resources in building all of these ships in order to be able to pull a fairly unwilling people to their rescue? And at the same time, Geordi had found that even after he was able to calm some unrest at Utopia Planitia, he found that there were certain parts of these ships that just could not be replicated directly. They had to be built with skilled labor, and there just weren't enough skilled laborers, and there wasn't time to teach them. And so what do? And they went to the Daystream Institute, where Maddox, who we see in the series, was working on research on how to do a race of datas, creating life, as it were. And they went to him saying, is there a way that we can make synthetic people who have skills but not necessarily life forms? Maddox didn't want to do it. Once again, it was a matter of resources. The Federation was willing to give him the resources to do what they needed, but not the resources to continue his research. And that's where we had Agnes Jurati come in as a young student of Maddox who wanted to help him be able to work on this project and also continue his own. And so kind of clandestinely, he continued his own project of building high-functioning androids while they built a number of these synths. And that's what led to eventually Maddox leaving when the Utopia Planitia base was destroyed by a revolt of the synths, which was, we found out later, a Jat Vash plot that was done by the Romulans. And their reasoning was because they just so hate androids, artificial life of any sort, that they wanted to make sure that they certainly weren't the ones that were leading the rescue. And once again, as we said, the Romulans didn't care about the common people. Once they got their elite out, which they did, they didn't care about what happened to everybody else. And so this is what all the book explains. And it talks about the politics in Romulus, it talks about the politics in the Federation, and it talks about some of the things that Picard and Geordi and other characters had to get through in order to be able to make this work. And in the end, after the attack by the synths, the Federation does exactly what the Romulans had hoped they would do, which was to ban synths altogether. Maddox escapes to the planet that he ends up on and creates Vash and all of the other androids. And we have, and pretty much abandons Agnes Jurati at the Daystream Institute. And so what you had here was Picard not really understanding the politics of all of this, threatening to quit if they don't do it his way, and then being shown the door. And that's basically what the book is about. It's a fast synopsis of what this book is about, but I recommend that you read it. It's very interesting reading and something to do if you're cooped up. So that is our review of a new beginning for Picard. And we're looking forward to the next year's series of Picard. Hopefully, when they are able to get the virus under control, they can start in production of that, and we'll see it again sometime before too long. Meantime, we know that Discovery is going to come back pretty soon. We've been told that they're pushing back once again the premiere of the Orville to later in the year, and we do know that there are other things that may have pushed back premiere dates. But we will keep content coming this way. We hope that you will subscribe and ring the bell so you know when the next video comes your way. We'll try to still do them once a week with interesting topics that I hope that you'll want to watch. Until then, thank you very much, and don't go far.